Workers' Party leaders say they knew Raeesah Khan had lied to Parliament days after her original speech. For this story, we're joined by Dr. Gillian Koh, Deputy Director at the Institute of Policy Studies. Dr. Koh, WP's top leadership knew that Raeesah Khan lied in August, but did not make it public. How would you assess this decision?
Well, it's certainly a surprise to hear that, but the WP Secretary General Pritam Singh showed care, concern and compassion in wanting to give Ms. Khan the time to explain the circumstances around which she had decided to take the approach she did in her August 3rd statement about, allegations that the police had mishandled interviewing a sexual assault victim. So he gave the time, but as it turned out, it had taken much longer than would have been favorable, because in the interim between the 3rd August statement and her admission that she had misled Parliament on the 30th of November, there was one more parliamentary sitting when she was asked by the Minister of Home Affairs to confirm that what she had said on the 3rd of August was indeed true. At that stage, the party leadership had already learnt from her that she had misled Parliament on the 3rd of August. But on that day, on the 4th of October, Ms. Khan repeated her allegations, and one would wonder how the party leaders who knew the truth would have felt hearing Ms. Khan repeat those allegations. Mr. Pritam Singh said that when Ms. Raeesah Khan repeated the untruth on parliamentary record, which was, quote him, wholly inconsistent with the revelations she shared with the party leadership after August 3rd, almost immediately after Parliament had adjourned, he had pressed her to come clean, set the record straight. But there hadn't been a good enough occasion, the right occasion to do so. So there was not just too much time, but in the middle, there was a parliamentary sitting, and she had actually continued with misleading of Parliament, with the party leaders sitting there knowing that she was doing that. So I think this is somewhat damaging, not only of Ms. Khan, but the party leadership. And this is what is new from today's press conference.
Well, Dr. Koh, there may be questions arising from what constitutes a good enough occasion or the right occasion to have spoken about the fact that the Workers' Party leadership knew that Raeesah Khan lied. But in any case, today the Workers' Party have said, look, we would have sacked her anyway if she hadn't quit on her own. Does this revelation help the party's cause, or is it perhaps a case of a little too late?
Well, on one hand, I think some members of Parliament some members of public would appreciate that time was given to Raeesah Khan to make the statement on her own and to set the record straight on her own, having sorted out certain things that she needed to do on her family end, on her personal end. But I think on the other side, there'll be very many members of public and also people who take political leadership seriously, who will feel that this was not just a lapse in the standards that are expected of parliamentarians on the part of Ms. Khan, but also with the Workers' Party that has wanted to present itself as the rational, reasonable and respectable opposition party, that questions will be asked as to why it took so long then, 3 months, but also with a parliamentary sitting in the middle when the party leaders would have sat through her repetition of these misleading statements. I think the key thing is that there were allegations about how a state institution, no less than the police, who are record keepers, right, that they had not dealt with the sexual assault victim properly. And so there would have been 3 months of wondering if there was any basis for this, and an anxiety on the part of the government to deal with it. So I think bottom line is this, that when Ms. Khan offered her resignation, we thought that this would be a quick, neat way of closing it. But now to learn that the party leaders knew about how she had misled Parliament and that it was dragged on not for just 3 months, but with that sitting in between. I think that may certainly erode some members of the public sort of trust in the party. There may be an erosion of its credibility as an up-and-coming opposition party. But then I think there will also be people who will say there were some reasons to do that, and perhaps we should now sort of move on. There's one more point. There's the Committee of Privileges in Parliament that will continue with its investigation, do its due diligence, and it will probably make a statement about what penalties or statements it will be making about the type of conduct it would expect in Parliament. This is important because it sort of either sets or maintains a standard that we hope to see in Singapore's Parliament today and going forward.
Oh, Dr. Koh, within the party itself, Workers' Party says it will look into questions by cadre member Daniel Goh on how the leaders handled this saga. Is this a sign of internal difference of opinion, something that might undermine Mr. Singh's authority?
Well, certainly with the fact that there is level of discomfort in public, there is also a high level of discomfort within the party. We would be led to believe by, statements by former NCMP Daniel Goh, who was clearly one of the leading lights of the party, in the last parliamentary term. So I'm sure that he's not on his own, but how the party is then seen to manage this, kind of dissent is important. It will signal to us as well as how they manage, the need for members leaders to be held accountable to its own members. And I think, setting that straight within your own party is important before you try to also, govern, the constituencies and be, the leadership that Singapore needs on both sides of the house. So I think it'll be important, and we'd like to follow or track what is that internal debate within WP. But I would say that the Secretary General has said that he apologizes for, this sort of, this whole saga, which he recognizes puts a dent in its credibility and people's trust in the party. And I'm sure that, as he has said, they will want to rectify this and come out of it as best they can, but in a way that restores the trust of its members in itself, and also then, therefore, as a knock-on effect, the trust that the public can have in the Workers' Party.
Thanks for that, Dr. Koh. We've been speaking with Dr. Gillian Koh, Deputy Director of the Institute of Policy Studies.